Hey everybody, so this is Fuel Overdose, and I guess we're going to be checking out maybe like a race or two of this, to go along with the review that you'll see above this video, or below, I'm not too sure, but so this game is really weird, and probably one of the weirder racing games I think I've ever played, and it's kind of a bummer, because it could have been, I feel like this game actually could have been pretty neat, and maybe a little bit fun to play with like some friends and stuff, multiplayer. But I think it fails in a lot of the aspects that it tries to accomplish in this. And so this is a racing game, like a post-apocalyptic, almost in a weird way. If you've ever seen the Death Race movies, and I think we talked about them on the podcast once before, the like the they're the movies where like they've gathered these prisoners together and convicts, and they're all gathered to like do these battle it out in these races where like you could die because these cars are equipped with like weapons and rockets and all sorts of crazy stuff. And so this game, in a weird sort of way, kind of has that aspect to it. It is this virus has spread out across the world, like wiping out people, and a meteor has hit, and so you got this like post-apocalyptic kind of setting where this set of people have been brought together to race it out, and they have all these different cars, and these cars are equipped with different weapons, and each character has a different like ability, and so it's kind of got that to it in its storyline. It also has a bit of a fighting game kind of thing going for it as well. So like you'll see here, you have these 8 different characters, and they have these super attacks and ultra attacks, and they have skill moves and different things like that. And then they have like their own backstory. And so in the story mode, you'll play as like all these different characters, and go through like 4 or 5 different races, and they'll have like different cutscenes in between each race, and then each character will like end with a weird to be continued, and then once you finish all 8 of them, then you'll get like the full story or whatever. And so like it has that, and so like as you'll see here when we get into a race, they Let's be this dude. They do this thing where like as you're hit, your ultra meter is basically built up, and then that like depending on how much of that meter you have filled up depends on like what attack you can use. So you'll see that. So this game has they have 5 different maps, and you have 5 different locations. So you have Cairo, you have Prague, you have New York, Las Vegas, and Kyoto, and then each of these have 4 different like variations to that race. So we'll do this first one. So I really like a lot of this game. I really think is some neat and interesting concepts for a racing game. The idea of like you're building up a meter, and then you have you're literally doing like, you know, you're using the right analog stick in a way that you would for a fighting game to pull off these special moves and ultra attacks and things like that. And like that, I feel like that's really neat, but I don't know if I don't even know if maybe that's one of those things where it's like, that's kind of cool, but you probably shouldn't do it because it just does not work well in this. So like your X button here, I hold it down, and I have these like machine guns, and I press L1, I can switch to like a rocket, and then I have these mines that I can lay down as well. And so I mean it's a racing car combat game, and I think as I've spent I think like 10 hours playing through this game, One of the things that stood out to me is if you make like a checklist of all the things that you would not want in a racing game, like things that you don't, things that would immediately kind of turn you off a racing game. If you made a checklist of those, I would say Fuel Overdose probably has a check mark in probably all those boxes. It has really poor handling. It is it has a really crappy frame rate at times. There was once where I went a good like 10 or 15 seconds just like at 5 frames per second. You know, it's whatever. I never feel like I'm actually in control of anything. I feel like it's way too easy to kind of lose control of your car. I'm trying to be very careful here racing, but like numerous times, like you go around a corner and just randomly spin out. And like even once there's a few times where I was going on a straightaway, no one even close to me, and I just randomly spun out for seemingly no reason. So a lot of stuff like that. A lot of times where I've gotten stuck in geometry, and I've gone to respawn, and it would respawn me off the map, or like over a ledge where I would so I would lose like a good amount of time in a race. This game has some pretty bad rubber banding AI. I mean, you just like name anything that you don't like about bad racing games. You know what makes a racing game not very good or not very fun, and I think this game has a lot of that. And a lot of it does come down to the controls are not good. They're not very responsive. The special attacks sometimes just flat out do not work. So you have this grappling hook here. So if you saw that, I kind of like grappled onto that car, and I can propel myself forward. And I can also do it like if around corners, they have these poles that you can like grapple onto and kind of swing around the corner. So instead of like drifting, you're like swinging around the corner, and you can propel yourself forward and get a speed boost. Again, really neat ideal, but it doesn't work very well. And a lot of there's a range that you can use for a lot of these weapons or for the grapple hook. So a lot of times you'll see, oh, you're out of range. But that message like came up almost all the time, even when I was just like, I don't know, like 2 feet away from the car. And so that to me was really weird that something like that would happen. So we'll do another race, and then so you guys kind of see differing environments. This game is very buggy also. A lot of just getting stuck. Or for one instance, one of the last races I did in the story mode was a duel, and so it was just me and one other guy. It wasn't a race, but you have 3 laps to kind of like destroy their car. And so it's a lot of like trying to stick behind them and just firing weapons at them, which I don't know if that's all that fun anyways. But in this particular race, or duel, I guess, the guy was driving like a semi truck, and we were in New York. And in New York, there is like a part of the track. There's an overpass that goes above the track, and it's kind of low to the ground. And the semi truck was, because of it being pretty big, got stuck. And it wasn't getting stuck in the geometry. It was just too tall to fit under the overpass. And so he literally, the AI, I sat and watched this AI back up and then try to go forward and try to get under, but he just was too big. He couldn't do it. So I literally sat there and just spammed rockets at him until I won. And so I don't know if anyone ever tested that, if that was meant to happen or like what, because that truck was not getting under this underpass or overpass, which I thought was pretty funny. So also, I guess one of my problems with this game is, like, it has weapons and stuff, but like, when you play something like Mario Kart or games like that, like, your weapons are usually pretty useful and it's kind of fun, and like there's each one has a use. This is like, and kind of the reason I've never really been a huge fan of like Twisted Metal and stuff. It's like it isn't. And at least Twisted Metal it's fun. Like that's still a pretty fun game. But this is like, I never really found a reason other than the dual modes to really even use like my weapons all that much, because it's like none of them really seemed effective to the point where it was useful to like go out of my way to do that. It was more just like, I'm just gonna race and try to win. So I will bring up this, and I mentioned it in the review. There is a pretty huge game-breaking bug that I ran into almost immediately, and luckily I ran into it very quickly, because I don't know what I would have done if that happened towards the end of like the story mode or whatever. So I was like my third race of the game, and I was about to finish that race, and I was going about neck and neck with another guy, and I went to grapple onto him, and I grappled, and it pulled me right up to his car, and we both got stuck, and we stopped moving, and all of the cars stopped. Everything stopped. I mean, the game itself like continued to run, and like I could pause it or whatever, but all the cars just stopped moving, and like controls weren't working or anything. So I went to retry, like I just restarted the race, and I did that, and like I posted a Twitter picture of it, and it was just like a bunch of like mess on the screen pretty much. And so I exited out of that and tried up another race, and the same thing was happening. And then I went into like, I was in challenge or championship mode at the time, so I went into story mode. And when I got into a race, it was just my car, but it was like ghosted out, and none of the cars were on the track, and nothing was working. So I actually had to go and delete my save file. And I imagine like if I would have been farther, I would have lost all of that progress, which would have sucked pretty badly. But yeah, honestly, like I don't really like championship is. You have 4 different championships, and there are 5 races in each one. So that will going through that will unlock each of the tracks for each level and stuff. Which is also weird. I completed all the championships, and I didn't get the trophy for it, which was strange. I don't know what was up with that. Story mode is, again, you have 8 different characters that you go through. There's like 4 to 5 races for each of them. That is weird. The story in this game is super bizarre, and the ending, I don't really know how to respond to it at all. There's challenge mode, is 30 different challenges. There's like, complete this race, or there are time trials and things like that. No one's really playing multiplayer. I played a few matches with Chris. It was, I mean, basically the game. Like, it wasn't really nothing too special about it. Again, I think the game has some neat concepts with the like trying to blend fighting and racing games together. I don't think it works very well, especially because I think this game is very buggy. I think the controls are just not very responsive, and they're not very good. Things just flat out not working at all. Like pressing buttons, trying to do things in the game, and this nothing happening, being pretty annoying. The whole like having this feeling that you're not in control. I think the thing with racing games is like you want to feel like you want to have really good handling, and you want to feel like you're in control of the thing that you're driving. And I don't feel like I have that in this game. It is way too like literally just out of the clear blue, like on a straightaway, no cars around me, no traps, no like rockets hitting me or anything, just randomly spinning out of control for no apparent reason. Things like that happening numerous times. Just not a fun game, not very fun. Which is kind of a like I can't say I really expected this to be great, but it at least has some interesting stuff going on, and it's kind of a bummer that they don't really make anything good out of it. So I don't know. I can't really. It's not terrible. I will say, like, my initial impression was really, really bad, but after that, like, I didn't really run into anything too bad as far as the bugs go, except for, like, the frame rate stuff. But at the same time, like, it's not even a good game, and I don't know if I'd really recommend it to anybody. Like, there are so many better racing games available that you can go for, and, like, this is just something, like, you should just stay away from this. It's pretty much. So thanks for watching, thanks for reading the review, and keep checking the site.